Hello and welcome to whatever this is. I am your host, Panyobasa, but I am no longer Panyobasa Bhikkhu or Panyobasa Mahatera. I'm just plain Panyobasa at this point, or at most, I am Panyobasa Samanera because I'm no longer a monk, technically, not a fully ordained one, anyhow. And that's pretty much what I'm going to be talking about in this little video. It's not a Q&A, although some people have expressed some curiosity as to how the transition is going. And so that's what this is for. So in a way, it's kind of like 1A to a number of Qs. Um, and I'm in New Orleans. I almost called it New Orleans, but everybody here calls it New Orleans, so that's what it is. I'm at the Hyatt Regency Hotel, and I was going to sit with the skyline behind me out the window, um, the skyline out the window, not me out the window, but it just backlights me, and then just my face is in darkness. So maybe I can just take the little camera here and show you. That's the window. Not much of a view, really. Kind of you do. Kind of you have a view. And then this is the room. That's the bed that I sleep on. That's the bed that junk accumulates on. And let's see, entrance over there and everything. So, okay. Now I put this back like this. Okay, now you saw the hotel room. I've never been in Louisiana before, so this is kind of cool. So, I suppose I should give the story of how it's gone so far. And you may be able to tell that I'm relatively good spirits, so it hasn't been a disaster yet. There have been a few people that I think were hoping for a disaster. So um, in their case, I mean, it just hasn't happened yet. I mean, they can maybe hope that something really icky will happen to me in the future. You know, like the whole flipping burgers thing. But we'll see how that goes too. So let's see. I suppose I should start where I was giving. Let's see. Where should I start? Yeah, I haven't really planned this out. I'm just kind of giving an update to everybody. Um, I told the abbot of the monastery I was going to drop out a few weeks ago, and gave my reasons, which I gave in the blog. I'm sure well, most of you, some of you are familiar with the reasons. Um, so he was disappointed, and but he was quite willing. He didn't try to argue me out of it, and then he just took off. I did a video, or I did a blog of this weird car blessing ceremony that we did before this visiting monk took off for, I think it was Kentucky, and the venerable abbot left with him. So I was going to like disrobe down to Salmonera in his presence, and then like ask forgiveness of all the monks. I was going to bow to all the other monks there and ask their forgiveness for any wrongdoing or trouble I had caused them. And I mean, I can be difficult at times. So that was the plan. I was going to disrobe before even leaving the monastery in French camp, and disrobe down to Salmonera. And that way I could handle money on the trip and everything. Even though it's against the rules for Salmoneras, it's not as bad, I suppose, as for a monk to do a fully ordained one. But Venerable Ukosala he just took off. He was gone. So um, I was still a fully ordained bhikkhu when I got to the first stage on the trip, which is Fremont. And I got there, oh, let's see, that was last Saturday, I think. And the abbot there is a really good fellow. His name is Venerable Ugarudama, and I lived at his place for a few years before I went to Burma last time. And so I figured I would just disrobe down to Salmonera in his presence instead before I got on the train to South Carolina, or rather the first train just went as far as Los Angeles. So then I heard that Ukosala, the abbot of my main abbot, who was actually present at my ordination ceremony 30 years ago, he was going to be showing up at Fremont. He was going to be coming back from his trip while I was there. So then I'm thinking, okay, I'll disrobe to him then, and ask his forgiveness and bow to him one last time and all that. But the day that he was supposed to come back, he just didn't show up. And finally, it turned out that he had just circumvented the monastery and just gone straight back to French camp without stopping off in Fremont. So, I mean, it could just be a coincidence, or I think maybe he just didn't want to have anything to do with it. So he just kind of avoided me. So I was just going to disrobe to Ugarutama then, the abbot in Fremont. And he was saying, I was going to do it the night before I left. And then he said, well, just wait till tomorrow morning. So it just kept getting kicked down the road. It was kind of interesting how it just kept getting postponed or something. Maybe it was karmic resistance or something like that. Although I had fully made up my mind. And when I told Ugarutama that I wanted to do the little ceremony of disrobing down the Samanera to him, his eyebrows went up and asked me, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm sure." So he just said, "Let's do it tomorrow." So then morning came, the morning that I was going to leave, and of course a group of visitors came to offer food. So my last meal as a fully ordained monk was mohinga, which is a kind of Burmese noodle soup, which is actually pretty good. And then the visitors, it was the birthday of one of the ladies who were offering food. So then we have to do the chanting and the water pouring ceremony and all that, and the time is getting closer and closer, and finally they left, and it was like maybe 10-15 minutes before I had to leave. I finally was able to disrobe down to Samanera, which is really very simple. I mean, really, technically, all a monk has to do. It's not like in like Roman Catholicism where you have to have a special dispensation from the Pope. All you have to do is just tell another person who can understand what you're saying that you're not a monk anymore and mean it, and that's it. So in my case, I just made confession to Ugarutama, and then I said, Samanero Deep Mam Dare Heat 3 times. And that was it. I wasn't a fully ordained monk anymore. Just Samanero Deep Mam Dare Heat. And that's it. So that was relatively easy and painless. And I was, upbeat mood. I mean, it wasn't really any major shock or change for me. I'd made up my mind. I'd fully intended to do it, and felt relatively good about it. And so, yeah, I mean, it was just, it was kind of an anticlimax or something. I'm not sure. So then I got a drive to San Jose, where I caught the train going to LA, and it's kind of a nice trip. I like riding on trains. It would have been nicer if I had a sleeper car, I suppose, especially for the long one between LA and New Orleans, or New Orleans. But kind of trying to save money for the big transition, so I just sat in the seat, which was part of my purification ordeal, which I'll get to. So spent a night in Los Angeles with Manu. Some of you may be familiar with him. He's the good fellow that I've done a few interviews with. He has a YouTube channel called Humble Stature, which is kind of ironic because he's 6'7". And his whole family are Hindus, or at least his parents are. And also he's got a kind of godfather mentor who is also not only a Hindu, but a very technical, learned kind of Hindu. And he offered me a meal there. He's like an Ayurvedic chef also. So we went to his house the next morning for food, and I got this Ayurvedic mung bean, bitter gourd, and ash pumpkin soup, which has all the ingredients specially calibrated for balancing out your gunas. And it was really interesting for me meeting this Ayurvedic chef who is also, he's oh, what is it? What does he do? He's he's a kind of energy healer. He like reads people's energy. You know, he'll tell you what kind of state your chakras are in, that kind of thing. And in fact, he had recently been um, contracted or hired to bless a rock band before they did a concert, which is kind of interesting. To what is it? Optimize their energies, not just blessing them, but he's like getting their chakras and energies all in line so that um, they're better integrated, a better integrated group. And yeah, so he read my chakras. It was kind of interesting. Um, he told me that my first chakra, the bottom one, the root chakra, which is survival. He said that's just like fully developed. That I have no issues with survival, which is good. Yeah, I'm really not in survival mode, and that's one kind of strange thing that I get all these comments, especially to the blog, you know, with regard to the announcement that I was going to be um, re-entering secular life as a person wearing a shirt and pants and all that. And it's all this emphasis on how are you going to get a job? You know, you have no job history, you know, for the past 30 years, and you're just going to be flipping burgers or, you know, working in a convenience store on the night shift or something. And yeah, just in a way, I've just kind of, I don't know, I'm tempted to say outgrown that. You know, you just have faith, you know, God will provide or something. So yeah, he saw that my first chakra was just fully developed, and then strangely, I'm kind of skeptical of this one. He said that my second chakra, which is the sexual chakra, is relatively undeveloped. That it's kind of small. You know, the energy isn't very bright there, and that was news to me because I am a relatively libidinous sort of person. So that was kind of interesting. And then he said that I had some kind of issues in my solar plexus, which I'm not sure if he was referring to the third chakra, which is like the power and control chakra. But he was saying that there were some kind of issues there that were interfering with the full development of my heart chakra. So, and that's as far as he went. He didn't go any higher than heart chakra. And then after lunch, he did a little um, some kind of procedure. I'm not exactly sure what you call it, where he just had me sitting there with my eyes closed, essentially meditating, and he was optimizing my energies or something like that. And I did feel some relatively strange sensations, just kind of a humming, buzzing sensation and all that, but could be placebo effect, or maybe the guy really did optimize my energies, which is nice. And yeah, so we went to Santa Monica Pier. I got some little kitsch souvenirs, which was kind of nice. That was the first time I had bought something at a shop in 30 years. Was on the Santa Monica Pier, getting the kitsch trinkets, and hung out with Manu's dad, who was really had a lot to say about gurus, especially. They're really the whole family. Um, Apparently, they are devotees of a Sat Guru, like a fully enlightened being who lives in California. And his name is so long and complicated, I've never managed to memorize it. They just call him, what is it, Dev Guru? Guru Dev, something like that. Which can just, I mean, that just means, you know, like, sort of like illustrious guru. And so anyway, it was a really nice trip, and then got on the train from LA to here because I'm really not all the way to South Carolina yet. And it was more than 48 hours just sitting on a seat. And you may notice I've got like red blotchy stuff on my face, which is partly from having like a scruffy beard, you know, like a couple weeks growth of fur there, and then just not taking a shower for 2 days straight, and just being kind of grungy from the trip, and also having to wear a mask 48 hours, even sleeping with this thing on. I mean, not exactly this one, but one similar to this, and so um, that was kind of a part of the ordeal of purification, I think. So we didn't get to New Orleans. Oh, one thing I should mention is one of the things I was mainly looking forward to was going through the Rocky Mountains. You know, the Rocky Mountains go from Canada down to Mexico. There's no way you can avoid the Rocky Mountains. You know, I wanted to see the Rocky Mountains. And yeah, I'm still not sure whether they were named after Rocky Balboa or Bullwinkle's sidekick, but I really wanted to see them. And somehow I don't know, I just blinked when we went through them or something, because I didn't notice any Rocky Mountains. I made it from like the west coast to almost the east coast, and I didn't even notice. And so it was, I don't think it was at night, because I looked at the map and it should have been in like New Mexico. So maybe just the Rocky Mountains are like really wimpy in New Mexico. It seemed pretty flat to me. So yeah, I went through Texas, which was kind of nice. New Mexico was pretty much of a desert, although I'm sure not the entire state is like that. And finally got to New Orleans and got there at night. The train was almost an hour late due to unavoidable delays through having to wait for freight trains and that kind of thing. And so I get there, and I'd already done a little bit of research on where I was going to stay. There was a Hyatt Regency Hotel just a couple blocks away from the train station. So I figured I'd just go there. And so I didn't know it was just like a couple blocks. So I called a cab, or I had the nice security lady call the cab for me, because I don't have a functioning phone yet. So it seems like the cab drivers hardly speak English here. I think they're from like India or Pakistan or something. And but I got one guy to take me to the Hyatt Regency, and I mean, it was just a few blocks. He drops me off, and I go inside, and it was, I mean, it was just like this ordeal. Well, just it was this strange ordeal, adding on to like previous ordeals. But that I go up to the desk. I ask if they've got a single room for 2 nights, and they did. And then they asked if I had a reservation, and I said no. But do you have a room? And it's like, we can't give you a room unless you have a reservation that you have made online. You can't even make a reservation in person at the desk. You've got to, I mean, I would have to sit in the lobby there and make a reservation online in order to be able to get the room. And then, of course, he tells me that I have to pay with a credit card. And I'm like, I got cash, I don't have a credit card. And he just said, we don't take cash. There's no way we can take cash. And it was just kind of amazing to me. It's like, you can't pay money. Here I am. I've not handled money for 30 years. Finally, I start handling money, and they just don't take money. It was the same on the train. Like the cafe car on the train did not accept cash. It was only plastic that they would accept. So I get to the hotel, and they said, well, maybe try the Holiday Inn, which was another couple blocks. And I'm carrying all of my luggage. I've got is almost everything I own. So it's heavy, including this iron Burmese army surplus footlocker thing that didn't have wheels on it or anything like that. It's just like this iron box full of stuff. So I carry that 2 more blocks, and I'm already tired. You know, I have been sleeping on essentially a chair for 2 nights straight, and it's relatively humid, not very hot at night. So I get to the Holiday Inn, and I asked if they had a single room for 2 nights. They say only for one night. And then I'm thinking, well, I mean, what? I mean, do you don't have anything? And then they were going to fix me up with this fancy suite for an extra night that was, like $220 something. Um, per night. And I was just going to go for it. And then he says, you know, you have to use a credit card. And I'm like, I mean, don't you accept money? Really? I mean, if I'm going to pay for something, it's like you pay with money, you know? It's like I'm gone for, I'm in Burma 20 years. I'm out of the secular world for 30 years. And then I come back and it's like people don't want to accept money, at least not real money. Although, I mean, paper money isn't really real money either, but still, at least you can see it. So I'm saying, man, what am I going to do? And he's saying, you know, there's no hotels in New Orleans that will take cash. You got to use a credit card. And I didn't have a credit card. And I'm saying, I'm going to be sleeping on the street. And he's saying, well, I don't want you to be sleeping on the street, sir, but I just can't do it. And we're living in the kind of world where you can't even bribe somebody. Like in Burma, you know, you just slip them some extra money and they, you know, they kind of look both ways and pocket it and say, you know, come with me, sir. I'll take care of you. But I mean, in America, it just doesn't work that way either. It's like you got all these technical hoops and everybody's, you know, you got like the computer observing your every move and everything. So you can't do that kind of thing either. So I was just screwed. I'm just sitting there thinking, you know, what am I going to do? I'm here in New Orleans, the middle of the night, because it was like midnight by that point, and no place to stay and no possible place to stay because I didn't have a freaking credit card. So that's one thing I'm going to have to get before. That's one of the first things I'm going to have to get when I get to South Carolina is plastic money. So what I did in desperation is I emailed a certain person who the last time we communicated, this person was angry at me due to sort of clueless autistic behavior on my part. Some of you may know that I'm just kind of blunt in my expression, and so I express myself bluntly, or just we don't need to get into it, but just due to more or less autistic behavior on my part, this person was upset with me the last time we communicated, and then fortunately the email had a beeper so that the person was woken up out of a sound sleep with me essentially begging for help. And so they they used their credit card to book me a room, to get a reservation back at the Hyatt Regency. So then I had to carry all my stuff back to the Hyatt Regency again. And on the train that day, all I had was like two bottles of vending machine soda pop, to hydrate me, and I was getting really dehydrated, partly just because of the humidity and the sweat, and I'm lugging all of my belongings, you know, like 4 blocks at this point, and then another 2 blocks back to the Hyatt Regency again, and I was getting so dehydrated. It's like when you first get off of a ship, if you've been living on a ship or a fishing boat for a long time, it's like the ground is it's like the ground itself is rocking back and forth. It was like the whole room was rocking back and forth. And finally, after like another half hour of just jumping through these ridiculous technical hoops, when I mean really all you'd have to do in the good old days, you just hand over the money and that's it, you know. But no, it doesn't work that way anymore. So I got the room, and then I'm lugging all of my stuff, and then the handle on um, the Burmese military surplus footlocker broke off, and then I just like tripped right over the top of it, scraped myself up. I don't know if you can see, scraped my arm, and banged up my knee, and cut my hand. So I mean, it was just like this ordeal. You know, I'm almost sick, and I'm just like really woozy from the dehydration, all this frustration and everything. But I've always considered that if you're going to do something momentous, going on a big trip or something, and then just everything starts going wrong right before that, I've always considered that to be a good omen. It's kind of the way my life has worked, where you're going to do something important, then all this crap starts happening that I mean, before I ordained, also it was similar. It was like just like everything was going wrong. You know, I just all of a sudden I get this letter from the IRS saying they're going to audit me, and just any kind of virus or anything that I could possibly get, I started getting it. So yeah, that happens, and so this was also part of my purification, I think. So I'm all set for arriving in South Carolina tomorrow, and I'm very much looking forward to it. So yeah, that's pretty much the journey thus far. Is uh, just first go to Fremont, do my disrobing down to Salmonera, so that I'm Puño Basa Salmonera, and this will be probably the last time you see me in robes, unless it's an old video. Like I still have some stuff to upload with that I did with Brian long ago that I haven't uploaded onto my BitChute channel yet. So you'll still see me in robes, but it won't be current anymore. Probably the next time I do a video, I'll be wearing a shirt or maybe just going bare chested. So you have that to look forward to, I suppose. And let's see, what else? What else should I say? I mean, I don't, it could even be racist for me to say this. I hope it isn't racist, but several people thus far on this trip have just asked me, "Are you a monk?" And every single one of them, I mean, we're up to like half a dozen now. Every single one of them has been of African origin. I don't know why that is. Partly in New Orleans, it's because more than half the people that are on the streets are black. But yeah, it was kind of interesting. And there was one lady on the train asked me if I was a monk, and I said yeah, and she was just all excited. She says, "Oh, baby, that's beautiful." This kind of stuff. So, yeah, I don't want to have to explain that I'm only like a semi-monk now. They caught me a little bit late, you know, uh, just a few days past my Mahatera status, which has gone poof out of existence. 30 years. But it is time to move on to another stage, and that's what I'm going to be doing. And I hope everybody is doing well, and I, I do hope to disappoint some of the cynics and gloomsayers who are just who have been prophesying that I'm just heading to self-destruction, perdition, or something. But we're just going to see how it goes, and I probably will continue with updates, and I will do more Q&As if people still have questions, because I really, you know, even as a Salmonera now, and in tomorrow night, I will probably stop even being a Salmonera. That is the plan. So, but I will know all the same stuff that I knew before, and still the same person and all that. So it's interesting. We're going to see how it goes, and I just wanted to give everybody an update. And may you all be well, happy, and peaceful. And I'm probably forgetting all sorts of things, and kind of like I completely spaced off the Rocky Mountains. But yeah, I just wanted to say hello and let everybody know how I was doing, and greetings from the Hyatt Regency in New Orleans, which is a relatively nice place. It's a huge building, and I'll let you know how it goes. Um, Probably do it like a Q&A or something in a week or so. And yeah, that's it. So be happy, and I'm doing pretty good so far. So I hope you are the same in your own way. And I won't say I'll see you later, because I never see you guys, because all I see is this camera. So goodbye.